What's the deal with dirty keto, especially in contrast to clean keto? Hi, if you're new to this channel, I'm Slick Nick, and I have a master's in bro science. That's right, I'm not a real doctor. I'm not claiming to be, nor a dietitian, nor a nutritionist, nor a personal trainer, none of those things. All I am is some guy in Tennessee with a camera who is experimenting on himself as he's approaching age 40, just a couple months from now, as he has a goal of reaching 17% body fat this year. Whereas last year I reached my goal of going from size 34 pants to 31. And I did that by counting calories and focusing on protein. But now I'm having a lot more fun doing keto. I don't have to count calories anymore. I'm instead focusing on getting the majority of my calories from fat, about 70%, and then about 25% from protein and about 5% from carbohydrates. So I'm doing in general between 25 and 50 grams of carbohydrates a day. I'm really strict about it. I have about a half a sweet potato a day and maybe a quarter of a cup, maybe a half a cup of frozen blueberries a day. And that's the majority of my carbohydrates. The other ones would come from my vegetables, but even my vegetables have very little calories in them, the ones that I eat at least. So for me personally, as I've officially become keto here recently, I guess in the last month or so, I've noticed that even for myself, I'm becoming even cleaner keto than I was before. So let's break this down. First thing I want to start with, mind you, I don't need you to be keto. I don't want you to be keto. I'm not trying to convince you to become keto. In fact, if I'm doing anything, I'm probably convincing you not to become keto because you don't want to be as crazy as this guy. I get it. It's okay. This is for me. It's not for you. It's for your entertainment and insight. But I'm experimenting on myself, a human experiment. So let's take this as an example, okay? Not that I'm saying this is keto because it's not. The first ingredient's wheat. But here's what I'm saying. In a general rule, the foods that I eat, down at the bottom, often it'll have this thing, here it is, I'm looking at it. It says contains 2% or less of, and then it'll have just as many ingredients past that part of the ingredients as compared to the first. And there's a whole paragraph of ingredients. And the second half is that 2% off. So that's a red flag for me. So for example, when I pick out, these are the quote hot dogs that I eat. These Boarhead uncured beef frankfurters. So no nitrates or nitrates added, okay? So when you look on here, yeah, there's no nitrates, so I'm good. That's same thing with the bacon here. Look, you know, it says all natural. It doesn't say organic. You know, if I was even cleaner, I'd look for organic, right? But as I look in the back, pork, water, sea salt, cane sugar, but that's not keto. Celery juice, cherry powder. But the thing is, it's got 0 carbs, and that's what I'm really looking at. I don't want to eat food that has more than 5 carbs in it, unless it's going to have at least double that amount of fat. That's when I can sort of trade that off. Here's my ricotta cheese. I was like, wow, I've always loved that stuff. This is double cream, and so yeah, 11 grams of fat and 7 grams of protein and only 2 carbs. So this is all great stuff. But yesterday when I was at the store, I had to seek these brands out, looking at the back to see, do I see this whole list of ingredients and where it says 2% or less of so-and-so and all these chemicals and preservatives. So I'm seeking out brands that have very few ingredients. And so going back to the concept of dirty keto and clean keto. So here's the concept of dirty keto, eating a lot of processed foods. Now, I'm not gonna name names, but I am saying that I have noticed products from popular companies who advertise keto in big letters on the package there. But if you look at the back, you'll most likely see a bunch of chemicals and words you don't even know what they are. Funny thing is, if you're doing keto, why don't you just do it yourself? Just keep it simple. And that's exactly what I do. Now, I'm in an effort to help show you how simple it is. I am making all these videos, kind of showing, all of these videos show what I eat as I'm gonna eat it anyway, so I just turn on the camera and make a video about it. And I think that's important to show how basic and simple this actually is in what I'm doing. But in other words, so like on keto, I guess in theory you could drink a diet soda. But for me, I'm not doing any fake sweeteners at all. It's funny because even as I'm phasing out my protein powders, I'm noticing that, like, I even have to look at some of these that'll have anything that it's supposed to emulate sweetness, like monk fruit extract. I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing for me or that it would falsely spike my insulin. I'm just saying, if it has something in it that's supposed to make it sweet for me, I don't want it. I don't crave sweet foods anymore. I used to. I don't anymore now that I'm keto. So I want things as basic as I can, as simple as I can. So yeah, soda, no, what I say about that is, what should I be drinking instead? You know what I should be drinking instead? Probably my water, and I drink 2 of these a day. This is a half a gallon, so I do, at least a gallon of water a day. But I'm thinking, how can I simplify this? And even now, I was just telling my wife this. I said, we've been having fun doing the bacon and doing all this, and it gives me a reason to have sauerkraut. Where's the sauerkraut? I know it's in here. It's funny because that's something you'll find with a lot of keto people, that they have sauerkraut. Is that we just love sauerkraut? Well, it's that it's a bunch of fiber, and that we can eat it with whatever meat we're doing, chicken sausage or whatever it is. It's fiber, and that's part of what I said in my initial video on this. The 5 pillars of keto. Number 1, filling up on fat and fiber. Number 2, fasting. Number 3, drinking a lot of water. Number 4, walking 2 to 3 miles a day. And 5, getting enough sleep, at least 7 hours a night, which I very heavily focus on those things. So I look at all these things, but even for me now, how can I become cleaner? Remember, I'm a former vegan. I spent the slight majority of my 30s as a vegan and vegetarian, like 1.5 years vegetarian, 5.5 years of vegan. I was strict. Now that I'm like 2 months away from turning 40, now I'm keto, and someone say, oh, that's the opposite of vegan. Well, the thing is, vegans and keto have this in common. They put a big emphasis on fiber and a big emphasis on fat. So how can I do that more simply? Even for me now, it's not that I have a problem with eating meat now, or red meat or whatever, but what I am focusing on is there a more efficient way to get my fat and protein in? So let me just share this with you. Okay, you may say, oh, you're a horrible person, these aren't organic. Okay, say that if you need to. But just looking at this, mixed nuts, okay? 14 grams of fat, 5 grams of protein. Bacon, 6 grams of fat, 5 grams of protein. So I'm getting a lot more fat from these nuts, even though I'm getting the same amount of protein. So I just really want to amp up my fat. I'm not so much focused on protein. Protein will happen. I do eat 3 eggs every day, and I eat some form of meat with whatever's at dinner. So I'm eating animal products, specifically meat, and I'm always eating at least those 3 eggs a day, but I'm just really focusing that much more on my fat. So what I think is going to happen is, especially as I get away from my protein powders, which are whey also. This one happens to be vegan, it happens to be pea protein, but I have been doing whey every day as well. So I'm getting away from that, because even that, it's processed. I want to get away from a bunch of powder and everything and just focus on natural, pure fat. And to me, that's my way of becoming even more cleaner keto. So maybe that will mean I am doing less animal products to some degree, because I am focusing a lot more on nuts, coconut specifically. Still, I guess I would say as I transition, I'll probably be getting most of my fat most of my animal products from eggs and butter. And that will be the majority of it. Of course, I'll still eat meat, but I'm saying I'm putting that much more focus on fat, because sometimes, in this example, nuts, it's a more efficient way of getting fat than when you're looking to get your protein anyway. And I know we can dice up the concept of complex protein and all of that, but ultimately, when I first became keto, it was like, okay, well now I can eat bacon and now I can eat hot dogs, and as long as it doesn't have nitrates in it. But for me, it's all about becoming more efficient. Focusing on eating eggs kept me from being vegan anymore, because I thought, well, eggs are more efficient for counting calories. And then once I started counting calories and losing weight, I thought, but if I focus more on fat instead of counting calories, and especially I'm doing intermittent fasting and I can play with those hormones to where I'm hardly ever storing fat, then that makes more sense. I'm all about efficiency, but my personality type is an Enneagram type 1. I'm the reformer. I'm wanting to find a new, more efficient way. Your comments belong right here.